we are really delighted to hear the setting of this session, tone of the session, and then I think the presentation list here, if you have a look, then I think you will not be disappointed. It's a great mix of the localization efforts, then how the ICT can be used for social inclusion. It's good to know very, very precisely that in the three layers of this session theme, that why inclusion is important in the Indian context and in the context of the other developing countries also, and how the communication can be a very effective tool for this inclusion strategy, and over and above that, out of this in communication, why ICT could be a very, very effective tool because of its greatest overreach and other things. And also to make this a point very, very strongly, that how the content and capacity will be the needs of the hour to take it forward. Because if you don't work on these, that he points out that elitism will be overwhelming, and then that in effect only may not be difficult for us to combat that elitism, the people of the urban and peri-urban people, but the marginalized people will be greatly affected. And then also at the last point he made, that is also very, very relevant for India, because we have already seen and we have demonstrated to the world that the emerging technology like mobile technology is actually having a great overreach of the inclusiveness, because already I believe that 30% of the village people have got, 30% is the penetration of the mobile in India, and which is very, very good. So thank you very much. So now we will call upon, and then I will request, because we have time, I want to keep some 15 minutes time for overall discussion. So we must finish by 12:45, and it is 10:20 in my watch. So if all the 14 people are there are 14 presentations. I do not know how many will be last, but let me call upon. The first presentation is from Mindtree Foundation, and this is Affordable Indigenous Assistive Technologies for People with Disabilities. You are there, ready? And please introduce yourself very, very briefly, your name and all.
Morning, my name is Raja Shanmugam. I run the Mindtree Foundation as a CEO. I wouldn't get into too much of introduction about myself, because then we're already going a little late in time. I'm available throughout the day, so we can discuss about myself and what I am, what I do, maybe later in the day. What this is about disability. First of all, I thank the Digital Empowerment Foundation for giving Mindtree the opportunity to present here. It's a nice way to get recognized for the work that we are doing for the people with disabilities. The UN Convention states disability results from the interaction of a non-inclusive society with the individual. A very stark example is, if I were a wheelchair user, I cannot attend this conference. This is not an accessible conference facility. So that is how you have to look at disability. It's not that I have an inability to do something. The society, the environment does not support me. Even among this group, if I shut off the microphone and I speak softly, you become hearing challenge for me, and I become speech challenge for you. So it's how we interact as society and as people which defines disability. But then the law assumes all human beings are equal, and it gives them the right to move around, to express freely, to read, to educate themselves, to work, to live an equitable life, a standard of living. So the law helps them to assert these rights. But until the society has universal design in a prevalent way, law alone is not going to help them to meet those rights. Assistive technologies is a very nice way to bridge the gap between the society and the individual. And this is where Mindtree comes in. Assistive technologies is a very important part of Mindtree's goals for the next 5 years. We have chosen this as one of the ways that we will be a socially relevant organization, by using our core competencies to help differently able people live a better life. 70% of the people with disabilities in this country live in the rural areas. Even For those in the urban space, the poorer sections of the society are going to be the people who are going to be impacted most. So then imported assistive technologies are not an answer because they're too expensive. And in some cases, those technologies are not relevant from the point of view of usability or environment or even cultural aspects. So there is a need to design and develop indigenous technologies in this country which are affordable for people. I'll give you a few examples. This is a access switch, a very popular imported access switch. If I am unable to use a computer keyboard because I have cerebral palsy, I use the switch to interact with the computer, enter data, select information on the computer. Unfortunately, this is 6,000 rupees a piece, not affordable by most of the users in this country. So a couple of designers in IIT Chennai and an NGO called Vidyasagar in Chennai got together and designed this concept with a target price of 500 rupees. Mindtree took this, productionized this, and then we gave it to a vendor. About 100 plus units of these have already been sold at a market price of 600 rupees already. But then we were not satisfied with the look and feel of this device. And also a little bit of stability issues. We went ahead and redesigned this. And this is how the device looks like right now. It looks much better, and the performance is also much more stable. This is another version of the same device. This has already been demonstrated in Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam and Thailand, and there's a huge amount of interest even there, not just in India. We will also further integrate this into a wheelchair mount. So for even a person who is paralyzed neck deep, he can just nod next to the system and enter data into the computers. Yeah, in a way, I'm demonstrating the device. So this is one model, and this is the other one that I'm using. The next device is a speech generation device. If I'm unable to speak fluently with people because either I have cerebral palsy or autism, I can use this device to select the pictures, create a sentence, and the sentence gets spoken out by the box. It's like a personal voice box, but it costs $8,000 US. Okay. Now, so we took a telemedicine device of Mindtree, made it into a speech generation device, and the bill of material cost for this for a reasonable production run is about $200 plus. But again, we wanted to make it look good because this is a device that would be used by individuals who are going through difficulties day in and day out. From the time they wake up to the time they go to the bathroom, to get ready, to anything that they have to do, they have to go through pain. So we called Michael Foley of Foley Designs and said, give us a product or a concept that would make it look happy, right? So he came up with this design. So this is a prototype, a working prototype, which he demonstrated in July in an international AT conference. This has got a 7-inch screen. It works. But unfortunately, with the enormous popularity of iPad, now people are saying, where is a 9-inch machine? So we had to go back to the drawing board, and then we redesigned that unit. So this is a 10-inch touchscreen device, which will have provision for both the touch option, the switch option, and the touchscreen option, which has all kinds of stuff that will also be wheel mountable. Right now, I can show you a non-functional mock-up of this device. This is a very expensive and nicely beautiful looking but heavy paperweight right now. But we will be having a functional prototype in the next 3 months. And this will still be targeted to cost less than $300. This is about 20% of the journey that we need to cover. There's still a long way to go. We have to productionize this. We have to do value engineering. We have to do DFM, DFT. We have to wheelchair mount. We have to figure out training processes, how to ensure it gets through all the caregivers across the country. There's a huge amount of work, a lot of challenges. But then the support that organization like Manthan is giving by recognizing what we are doing helps us to keep us motivated. And more important, we are driven by our responsibility to the innumerous parents, the children, and the caregivers who have shown so much of excitement and hope when we show them our work. And we need to meet that promise, and we will. Thank you.
I think very big hands to them. And then Shanmugan, I had just a quick short question before we open it. There is a precise department in the government of India to deal with the different level. Did you have any contact with them?
There is this national trust. So we are in touch with Mrs. Poonam Natarajan. I'm in touch with various NGOs, various organizations.
No, the government.
Yeah, so national trust is from the part of the social welfare.
Social welfare department, yes. Yeah.
So they are specifically focused on the various disabilities of mobility.
So I will request a quick comment from Murali also to take the advantage of his presence. Before that, if any question from anybody. Anybody wants to know more about these things? If you have to look and feel, then you can do it after the session, which is great. You are doing like this. And you can have a capacitive thing also without touching.
It is a capacity.
It is capacity.
So the advantage of this is, if you see the earlier switch that I showed for 6,000 rupees, somebody has to lift their hand and press it. It's a mechanical
So
switch.
it is capacitive.
So cerebral palsy child, even lifting the hand and pressing is difficult. Or if I have a headbanger switch in the same model, I have to bang the switch with my head if I'm paralyzed down, neck down, which is again difficult. This is a capacitive stuff. So all I need to have is a movement of either my hand, my leg, my head, and it works.
My kudos to Ashok ji to spend money on this. Great person. All regards for them.
No. I have a query. Is it a sort of you kind of your vision is about lots of targets in terms of sales target and recognition and so on and so forth. I'm just wondering where's the sales model fitting in here?
My vision is to empower the persons with disabilities in this country. We have 10% of this population who are disabled, at least 10%. There are 100 million people who are disabled in this country. They don't have access to any of these technologies. And 70% of them in rural areas who can't afford what is available in the global market. So that's my vision as a foundation. If you want, do I have a number? I have a number saying I should reach and touch at least 1 million people with disabilities in the next 4 or 5 years. There is no sales target. Okay. Sales target will come. I'm not worried. If I have to get into from a sales target perspective, there are a lot of things that I do currently which I will not be able to do. But I'm not doing it for charity. This will not be given away free. But I will invest in ensuring that this product comes to the level where it becomes affordable by people with disabilities in this country.
I have only one caveat to say.
Yes.
That is the correct statistical figure, perhaps the 10% of the people are...
No,
no, I'm not...
2% is the number as per the Indian Census Bureau.
No, I'm going further to that.
Yes.
I'm only trying to say,
yes,
by this device, you are going to take the ICT to them.
Yes.
So there is a different level of capacity. They should know ICT.
Yes.
I'm only trying to see your target people
yes,
who knows ICT, who
yes,
is savvy,
yes,
but they can't reach it because they're differently abled.
Yes.
So that percentage is still very, very low.
Yes and no, sir. If you look at today, computers have reached almost every village. You go to a village school today, they have 3 computers in almost every school. But the children with disabilities cannot enter the school because the teacher cannot teach the children. The teacher cannot understand what the child is saying if I'm a disabled child. Now this device will have an Indian language option. I can make a Tamil text-to-speech device work on this. I can make a Hindi text-to-speech device work on it. It's not just English. So I will reach out to the whole country. It's not the computer availability which is an issue. It's the ability to access the computer which is the issue for a person with disability. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Thank you, Shanmugam. Great hands. Please put our hands. So I will now request Lakshmikant Deshmukh ji, who missed out yesterday, who was missed out. But that's a very fantastic, Save the Baby Girl was in my packet of the things as a jury member. So I know this program, but please have your presentation. Save the Baby Girl, this is not in your program here, so you can't see, so let us hear him.